Hello, Full Circle listeners. This is Martha.
And this is Charles.
Before we get to the episode, we want to take a moment to address the June 24th Supreme Court decision to overturn Roe v. Wade. This decision stripped away the federal right to a safe and legal abortion for all Americans who can become pregnant.
Restricting access to comprehensive reproductive care, including abortion, threatens the health and independence of all Americans. This decision could also lead to the loss of other rights.
To learn more about what you can do to help, go to podvoices.help. We encourage you to speak up and spread the word, and of course vote in November like our rights depend on it, because they do.
Thank you for listening. Now on to the show. In this episode, we talk about
HRC appoints their first queer black woman as president.
threatening the library because words hurt you doesn't actually work, you know.
Trans people can currently update their birth certificates in Montana, but don't wait too long, folks.
Mermaids aren't real, but their effect on the fragile psyche of racist white folks surely is.
Mm-hmm.
Welcome to Full Circle, the podcast.
Coming to you from the dining room table at East Barbary Lane, welcome to another episode of Full Circle, the podcast. A weekly visit to our home where we squeeze a few headlines through our decidedly queer lens and see what happens. This episode is brought to you by Decanted Jug Wine and Exhaustion.
I am your host, Charles Tyson Jr.
And I'm your host, Martha Madrigal. Welcome to the Full Circle table. Hey.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm okay. We've got a nice breeze.
There's a beautiful breeze.
And we're recording on a brand new piece of equipment.
We are. Apparently it's more sensitive, but the cables are all in place. And we fought for 2 hours about the windows being open, but we're back.
We are.
We left that off mic.
We're on our Zoom PodTrack P4. It's a little gadget that our pals over at Doom Generation Podcast sent us.
Yeah, so we'll have to see if this, what this does for our sound quality, and because we can take this on the road, right?
Exactly.
Right. So this makes us completely portable, gets us away from the need for the laptop to record, right?
Right.
Okay. So it replaces the mixer that the things couldn't stay in the holes right.
Right.
So now all I need is a decent pair of headphones that aren't electric taped together.
Right.
Okay, and we'll really be cooking with gas.
Putting it on the list.
Yeah, I know. We have such a list. There's such a list.
Let's get our podcast business out of the way.
Yeah, do that.
Wherever you are listening to this podcast, please take the time to rate and review us. 5 stars and more, please. Our Patreon is patreon.com/fullcirclethepod. We have all kinds of wonderful things over there. Starting at the $3 tier, you can get ad-free episodes, and from the $6 tier up, you can get bonus episodes and content. We do fun things over at Patreon. And we just signed up for that buy us a coffee thing.
Yeah, fine. Buy us a coffee, dog food. We did get dog food.
We did.
Yes, dog food showed up.
And thank you.
Which was amazing. Property taxes are behind. Just thought I'd throw that out there. Maybe in the way that dog food showed up.
Right. Well.
Oh, my goodness.
Our link tree is linktree/fullcirclethepod. Our Venmo is on there too. I'm just saying things,
It's all there, yeah. Yeah.
We got a bunch of new listeners.
Do we?
Yeah, we got listeners in India now.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Okay.
Welcome. So that's our podcast business. What's been going on with us?
Oh, jeez. It's been, well, I think the last time we recorded Was that only a week ago?
It feels like 9.5 years.
It does. Was right after Labor Day. No, we had, I don't know what. Yeah, it was right after Labor Day, wasn't it?
I think
Did we
so.
skip a week? Because we had the weekend of the stuff. Have we recorded since then?
I think we somehow skipped a week.
Maybe we did. So
We're sorry. We love you.
Yeah, we might have. The medical conference that I was running happened Friday, Saturday of 2 weekends ago, because this weekend was the XPN Fest, which we also got to attend on Sunday.
Right.
You've been working like every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been so crazy. I think we skipped a week, which we did not mean to do because it feels like it's been forever.
Yeah. We missed you all.
Yeah, lots of stuff has happened. I mean, we've had these podcast notes going so long. It was like Dead Queen. Dead Queen has funeral. Dead Queen's funeral's over, by the way.
Yeah.
So it's been like, I just realized, I think we skipped a week. Sorry, Medway Pride.
We love you too.
We do. Yeah, we're recording on a Tuesday, so it'll be interesting to hear which show plays in the UK tonight. When we take our break, we're going to have to listen in.
It's a good thing we send them a bunch of options.
Yeah, they've got lots of shows in the bank, but still, it's just, yeah, I think we skipped an entire week and didn't even realize it. That's how fast September is flying by.
It's true.
Because we went right from, so my conference was the 9th and 10th. Those dates are drilled in my head. And then it was the 11th of September when we went to see LGBT Quiet with a group of our friends from Transway. And we had a little talk back with the cast afterwards. So that was fun. I loved seeing the way it came together. Because we talked to the kids. Really, they were just beginning to rehearsals. They were blocking scenes and working on movement, and to see
it was still very raw.
Yeah, and to see the whole thing come to fruition was excellent because there was dance involved during the transitions. There was movement. I really felt like the story developed and you just embodied it, and it was great queer storytelling from a bunch of high school kids.
It really was,
and it really talked about what it's like to be in high school when things are happening around you, especially, where queer people are concerned and you're left out of the conversation entirely. And, they touched on race as well. It was good.
It was very good. I was very proud of those kids.
I left feeling hopeful.
Right.
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, so, like I said, we're recording on our new Zoom pod track, which makes our mics very sensitive. So if you heard a train in the background.
Yeah, there's a train in the background. There you go. You might hear children on their bicycles. You may hear folks walking dogs. But it's a beautiful breezy day here at East Barbary Lane, so the windows are open. We do not have a recording studio. We have a tablecloth. So you get what you get. But I think, the quality sounds good through my headphone.
Right.
So
well, imagine how I'm hearing.
We're moving on up. And then right after that, so on the 12th, we went and saw Brian Sanders' Junk.
Oh my God. We saw
that needs explanation.
We saw a lot of people's junk.
Yeah. It sounds like something it wasn't. That is his.
Does it though?
No, it's Brian Sanders' dance company called Junk.
Yes.
The show was called Luster.
Yes.
And it was, an interactive kind of, it was a reality show spoof, but it was a very acrobatic dance performance. It was really fun to see.
It was. Those dancers, they did everything. They danced on the ground, in the air, on water, in water.
Yeah. So you had, and you had, you worked all week on Walk the Pink Elephant.
Yes.
Which we saw, I saw twice. You have seen multiple times.
I've seen that show like 6 times.
You've watched the whole thing be generated.
Yeah.
And I went on Friday, right? Was it Friday?
Yes.
And then I went back on Saturday because I felt like, Friday was a crap day.
Yeah.
And it just, like, I didn't feel present to the work, and that didn't feel respectful to, the folks that you've been thrilled to meet. You even interviewed them on Dance Talk Radio.
Yeah.
And, you saw a whole lot more in the piece than I saw on Friday. And that's when I just kind of checked myself, and something really stupid had happened. And I was just kind of consumed with it, as one does.
Right. And you weren't able to receive the piece in the way
I did not.
intended.
I did not receive it. I didn't feel present to it, and I felt really critical. And I said, it's kind of like when you sit down in a restaurant and it takes an inordinately long amount of time to be noticed. So you don't even get your ice water, and then nothing is right. And it was nobody's fault. It was what happened. It was the text message I got before we left the house.
Right.
That was just, it sat with me. Yeah. And I was
just
just
affected
like,
everything from that point
And every time I
forward.
thought about that message, I was like, where did this person get off? Like, it was a whole stupid thing that, came into my presence that has nothing to do with me.
Right.
But does. And that was just a weird, it's not worth going into. But anyway.
So you went back on Saturday.
I went back on Saturday because I let a crazy old woman get to me on Friday night. And I went back Saturday, and it was an absorbing piece. It was worth seeing. It was worth going back again because I had missed a lot of nuance the first time. So.
And I was a sobbing mess up in the tech booth.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's kind of well, you describe it.
The piece is reaction and commentary towards the generation of artists and mentors and colleagues that were lost during the AIDS crisis. And it was told through African movement and poetry and live music. It was beautiful. And, the show was different each time. They added things or did things differently. So I didn't even have the buffer of having seen it and knowing what's coming, because something else would happen and it would hit me differently. And then I'm crying all over again.
Yeah, I thought it was beautifully done. I did. I'm glad I went back, and we will certainly see those gentlemen again. They're terrific. They have relocated from Rhode Island via New York, Yatande.
Yes.
And Jude.
Yes.
And they are
Denizen Arts.
Yes. And I'm sure that we will be seeing more work from Denizen Arts, but we will certainly see more of them.
Yes.
So that was great. New friends doing new work in Philadelphia. I didn't feel like I was the welcoming committee for Philadelphia on Friday. I just felt like I was in my own head. So I'm really glad we went back on Saturday. And
you even got up on stage and were part of the piece.
I did.
Which also made me cry. I was a mess.
Well, I sat a lot closer, and so I was more in it. Because the seat I had Saturday night was kind of the furthest removed seat to really observe, but not to be a part of anything.
Right.
And so I switched that up entirely and was right dead in the middle. So, yeah. I didn't avoid the second line at the end, which was fine. I like a good second line.
I know.
I love it. Yeah. So, I mean, it ended on a celebratory note. It certainly explored, those we've lost. And they called them our father mothers.
Yes.
That we lost. And there's we certainly lost people my age. But when you get to 5 and 10 and 15 years older than me,
right,
that's the generation we lost.
Yeah.
So many of them.
So
yeah, and I was feeling that too. The problem was Friday night. I was looking at they're your age, and they're kind of looking back at this having come of age in the 90s, and there was this part of me that was like, yeah, you weren't there. Do you know, right. There was just this part of me that I think kind of shut off the work just because I was so self-absorbed. And I was like, yeah, you caught the tail end. You did not catch the abject terror that was, the early 80s. It was horrifying. Still.
It was still scary, though.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. But, by the mid-90s, we knew we were going to come out of it. Like, we knew it wasn't, a diagnosis was not the death sentence it was.
Right.
Because it was a death sentence.
It was. I mean, when I was first, being out in the scene, the medications were still experimental.
Right. But, I mean, one of the things I think I'm trying to say is it was a little while, before we knew there was any connection. So, you grew up knowing safe sex was important.
Right.
I came of age as that was happening. So, I didn't have a lot of experience out there, but I had some.
Right.
Before that was a thing. Before it could be a death sentence, just having sex. Yeah. That was scary. It was scary. Like, oh shit.
Right.
Or the condom broke or whatever, it was just, I was alive for all of that. I was, coming of age through all of that. And those were hard times. Those were hard times.
Yeah.
But I do think that they handled it respectfully and well. I do think that they came at it from their own perspective. And I do think, they kind of wrapped it up in a really good place. So it wasn't just
a slog.
Another slog.
Right, yeah.
Another slog. Yeah, it was something else. It was something else. And we're looking at 40 years. We're looking at,
yeah,
an anniversary of sorts. So, yeah.
Yeah.
That's where we are. I had made a note that at my conference, I had a very affirming work experience. This was the first time I was working professionally as Martha.
Right.
Not doing this, because I've done this and I've hosted things and we've visited things, and I'm not talking about going to the restaurant or the Target or the anything else. I'm talking about I was, co-running a conference.
Right.
So it was that first experience professionally, and it was good. It was really good. Everything went fine. These were a bunch of
better than fine
surgeons, and yeah. So it was good. But the first night, and I want to say it was Thursday night. So we were there all day Thursday,
right,
in preparation for Friday, which started at 6 a.m. And it was Thursday night. I was outside having a cigarette with a British Air flight attendant. And we started having this, conversation. And she said, I want to ask you, are you trans? And I said, uh-huh. And we got into this interesting conversation. And at one point she said, so have you had the surgery? And I said, have you?
Oh boy.
And she said, and she looked at me and she said, well, what do you mean? And I'm like, well, have you had your labia trimmed? Done anything to tighten up that hole recently? Like, I'm just asking, have you? And she looked at me for a second, and then she said, it's none of my business. And I said, you're right.
Ding, ding, ding.
It's not. I actually went on to answer her. We had a really interesting conversation, which I never do, by the way, but I was tired. But yeah, that's generally my, none your business. Unless you're trying to sleep with me, what do you care?
Right.
Not your business.
Fair point.
Not your business. Yeah. So, but we had an otherwise interesting conversation about a close friend of hers who is trans and what they have been through and gone through. And I think they knew each other in the UK. I mean, she was based in the UK and British, but the friend wound up in Los Angeles, and I believe still lives in LA and transitioned there.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it was just this, it was the only time being trans entered the conversation at all with a stranger out on the step in front of, one of Philadelphia's fancier hotels.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, that was the only thing. And I was like, I don't know. I was feeling myself. I outweighed her by 3. Like, what's she gonna do? Be mad and leave?
Right.
But it is an invasive question. So, trans 101, none of your business.
Yeah.
None of your business. That is not how we authenticate trans people, at least not here.
Exactly.
And, with all the kerfuffle in the world, I just want to make that point. I think that's why I made the note that had happened and, whatever. I looked cute.
You did.
I looked cute. I wore my mother's pearls. I have no idea how Totes would feel about that, but she's dead.
You were fabulous the entire weekend.
Thank you. I thought so. I don't own many skirts. I think that I would wear them all the time if I just owned one, but I mostly own, slacks and jeans and stuff like that. And I wore a skirt on Friday, and it felt right. Looked good too, but it felt right. I was like, "This is nice. This is nice." Yeah, because I obsessed more about what I was going to wear, I think, than the whole conference. And I mean, I helped put together a complex conference.
Yeah.
And we had international guests and, almost 200 pretty prestigious surgeons coming together. And yet, I was worried about what I was wearing.
Well, you've had much practice with the conference end of it.
Yes, I've done. This is something I have done before.
Right.
And
the skirt wearing part, not so much.
I guess, yeah. Well, I've worn them, but not in a professional setting.
That's what I meant.
That's all. Yeah, wore them on stage all the time, but that was a whole nother lifetime ago.
Yeah, different professional setting.
Different professional setting. Yes, yeah. We're making more immediate money, shall we say?
Right. Right.
Yeah. Getting the coin. Yeah, it was. I wrote BA flight attendant over a fag because she mentioned that it was this, medical conference, and she's like, and here we are talking over a fag, and I said, yeah, but the surgeons are out having a steak dinner right now. So yeah,
irony.
Yeah, all of it. I'm like, I guess they figure they have each other. They know what to do.
Exactly.
If an artery gets clogged.
Can I have a number 7, please? Thank you.
It's whatever. Anyway, we have some good news.
We do.
Talk about it.
Oh, this is new. You added this.
I did add this because I just saw it. A friend just actually posted the link to Facebook that the first Black queer woman is now serving will serve as the Human Rights Campaign's president. HRC is the largest LGBTQ advocacy group in this nation. And it has had, shall we say, a checkered past.
Right.
No, and I don't mean that in a nefarious way. I mean that in a sort of white, cis, male, gay-centric kind of way.
Correct.
Certainly on the lead up to marriage equality, it was very much centered there. And the last president was the gentleman, Alfonso David, who got kind of caught up in the whole Andrew Cuomo kerfuffle.
Right.
He was the lawyer. I'm not suggesting he did anything wrong. I don't know that we ever said he did, but he was, I guess, involved enough that it gave folks pause. At any rate, this is the first time in history that we have a Black queer woman at the helm. Her name is Kelly Robinson. She worked as the executive director of Planned Parenthood Action Fund, where she helped grow its supporters from 6.5 million in 2012 to more than 18 million, according to the HRC.
Wow.
She started her advocacy career as a community organizer for former President Barack Obama's 2008 campaign.
There it is.
In Missouri. She pulls inspiration from her family's legacy as the first free Black family in Muscatine, Iowa.
Work.
This is, according to HRC, this is a pivotal moment in our movement for equality for LGBTQ plus people. That Robinson said in a statement, "We, particularly our trans and BIPOC communities, are quite literally in the fight for our lives and facing unprecedented threats that seek to destroy us. This next chapter of the human rights campaign is about getting to freedom and liberation without any exceptions. And today I'm making a promise and commitment to carry this work forward. She will officially assume her role on November 28th, my daddy's birthday, and take the helm at a time of increasing attacks on our people and their rights.
Work.
Yeah. And of course, Alphonso Davis has alleged racial discrimination led to his firing. Entirely possible. It is the HRC. We'll see how that unfurls. This is going in a good direction. I think she's a good choice, and we'll see how it goes.
Yeah. I'm excited to see what comes from this.
Yeah. Who's at the table changes the conversation, changes the priorities. I do hope that HRC really does focus on trans issues because they need to.
Word.
And they haven't always. So yeah, that's in good news.
Yeah.
What's next?
Well, James Earl Jones is going to have a Broadway theater named after him.
I like that.
Right. As we all know, James Earl Jones is a world-renowned actor, and his voice is one of the most iconic in
Darth
show
Vader.
Business. Yes, Darth Vader, Mufasa. Yeah. For a while, he was the voice of CNN back when we gave a shit about CNN.
Yeah, that was them.
And, of course, he spent a lot of time performing on Broadway. And so...
What was the theater that they're renaming in his honor?
It was called the Court Theater.
Oh, okay.
And it will now be the James Earl Jones Theater. And that makes him only the second black person to have a theater named after him, the first being August Wilson.
Okay.
So that's a wonderful piece of good news.
Good news.
And we have a good theme of good black news going on. This is a little interesting tidbit that I happened upon in the social media. So for years, I've been wondering, both in my head and aloud, just what is it with black people and our relationship with Hennessy?
Oh, yeah. Because there is one.
There is one.
Yeah, we owned a bar.
Right.
There is one.
Oh, yeah. And
I never knew either because I think cognac is kind of nasty.
It is.
Yeah.
But,
personally, that's just my thing.
An individual on Twitter named Blocka Khan took it upon themselves to drop a little knowledge. They said, I see Hennessy trending and people making jokes about its grip on the blacks. LOL. There's actually a very historical reason for that. He goes on to say, Hennessy was one of, if not the only liquor brand that included black people back in the day. It started around World War II. French people would give black soldiers Hennessy, a French cognac, as a thank you for their service. It was also the first corporate sponsor of the NAACP and the first liquor to advertise in Ebony and Jet.
Oh.
So it was embraced by black people early on. I find that incredibly interesting.
So do I.
And it makes so much sense.
Right.
Doesn't make it taste any better.
Right. But that's not the point.
But that's not the point.
But that's not the point. I mean, that's okay. There is an interesting reason.
Right. And that's just us. There's plenty of people that like it. So
right. But an actual interesting positive reason.
Yeah. Right. So it makes me feel better about Hennessy.
Yeah. Kind of cool.
Yeah,
I mean, positive in that it's liquor, but it ain't Old English.
Right. And we haven't heard any racist terminology coming out of the corporations like in other liquor brands.
That too.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Moving on in the good news. You want to take this one?
So the headline says, Angels protect LGBTQ students and allies from a group of over 100 anti-queer protesters.
Yes.
These are the same folks. Similar angels were seen at the funerals of Matthew Shepard and for the Pulse shooting victims.
Yes. And also when the Westboro Baptist Church came to Philadelphia, they were there too.
So this happened in Provo, Utah. over 100 anti-LGBTQ protesters attended Back to School Pride Night, an event that connects queer Brigham Young University students, faculty, and staff to locally supportive businesses, students, and community members. That's interesting that exists.
Right.
The event featured family-friendly performances by 12 drag queens, including some current and former BYU students, as well as live music from local and touring bands, an art show, and vendors and organizations. The protesters shouted, "Pedophile, groomer, you're going against God,
Yawn,
stop protecting the homos, and Christ is king." I was wondering where Jesus was in this. Some carried handguns, waved U.S. flags, and held signs with anti-queer slogans and religious verses. Protesters, including local residents and conservative BYU students, complained about the event being held at a public park and called drag a sexual fetish that sexualizes children. Words mean nothing anymore.
I'm saying.
The drag performances all featured child-friendly versions of pop songs and had no nudity or partial nudity, according to the lead organizer. However, the protesters were far outnumbered by event attendees and counter-protesters. The counter-protesters included about a dozen angels who showed up with wings made of white sheets draped over PVC pipes that extended 3 feet above their shoulders. Together, the angels formed a wall in front of the protesters, effectively blocking attendees from seeing the haters. Supporters waved rainbow flags in the gap between the angels' wings. "I am doing this because I want our LGBTQ community to feel like they can be themselves and know we have their backs," Sabrina Wong, one of the angels, told the Salt Lake Tribune. The event was attended by roughly 300 people, including some children, organized by the Rainbow Collective, a nonprofit supporting BYU's LGBTQ community.
Lovely.
Yeah, I like this.
Yeah.
All 12 of the event's drag performers received violent threats on social media before the event. So organizing the group of angels came about to block the protest. And there is a group known as the Angel Action Wing Project, whose similar outfits in 1999 blocked members of Westboro Baptist from protesting the trial and funeral connected to Matthew Shepard. Similar angels also blocked protesters who attended the funerals of the Pulse nightclub shooting victims in Orlando.
Yep, I remember.
Counter-protesters also included a group called the Black Menaces, a group of BYU students who opposed prejudice on campus. Police monitored the crowd and broke up a few clashes before between protesters and counter-protesters.
All because people just...
Yeah, the organizer said, "I think that when people feel scared about this event, it's just because they've never been to a Pride Festival or they've only been to Pride Festivals in other locations. But also I have been so incredibly humbled and amazed at the community that has come out and supported us. We just want everyone to come and be kind." Yeah, that's all I ever want.
Exactly.
Yeah, so.
But I love that. It's a beautiful image.
I hate that we have to have that.
Right.
I hate that is necessary.
Right.
I hate that, these folks have no respect for us, but they love online to whine and cry and carry on that they are not being respected and that, they're being persecuted and Christians are being persecuted and all this other, but they show up and do stuff like this.
Right.
All the time. And we need people with sheets and pipes.
Right.
Yeah.
To make a fucking wall.
To make a wall. Yeah. Yeah, but they're the ones being persecuted. Okay.
Yep.
Words mean nothing.
Words mean nothing.
So, good on them. Thank you. Glad the event happened.
A country star actually did something good for trans people.
Maren Morris.
Yes. So she raised over $100,000 for transgender support organizations after
Tucker Carlson mocked her on his Fox News show.
Yeah, I wasn't going to say his name. Tuckums.
Yeah.
Yeah, he called Morris a lunatic and a fake country music singer after mentioning her public statements against transphobic comments made by Brittany Kerr Aldine. I vaguely remember this.
Some beauty lifestyle influencer married to some country music artist.
Right. Yeah, she said some shit like, I'm so glad that my parents didn't change my gender as a kid because I love being a girl or something.
Well, good. Yeah, great. You're sis. Congratulations.
Right. Exactly. And Marin got with her to say, basically, she was like, yeah, I'm glad too, because Lord knows we don't need any asshole boys either, or something to that effect. And so Tucker Carlson called her a lunatic
country music person.
Right.
She took, the Fox News banner under her picture, and that's now her profile picture.
Right.
New profile picture.
And she sold t-shirts on her website that say Maren Morris, lunatic country music person. Mm-hmm. And then it has the telephone number
for the trans lifeline. I love that.
Right. And the proceeds, over $100,000 at the time of the article being written, the proceeds will be split between Trans Lifeline and GLAAD, the GLAAD Transgender Media Program.
Excellent.
So, country music stars are good for something.
Well, here's the thing. Yeah, Carlson said some ugly, horrible, disgusting shit.
Oh, yeah, he was awake that day.
Yeah.
I do enjoy when people take the hate and hateful rhetoric that other people sling at them and turn it into something positive.
Well, and that's where I was trying to go. Regardless of whether you approve of her genre or not, I like these kinds of positive responses.
Yes.
Take the hate and turn it into something good.
Yes.
Because Lord knows the haters are never going to do that.
And I'm being snarky. There are actually a lot of country music singers out there that have very progressive politics, and it actually gets them into trouble with their intended fan base.
Yeah, it's true. But, there is a new face to country music emerging, and there should be room for them as well.
Yeah.
And good on her. I mean, she's taking, I have not heard of this person before, but she is taking her celebrity and doing something positive with it.
Yeah.
So good for her. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Maren.
Yeah.
This is a fun one. So there's the children's show Peppa Pig featured a same-sex couple for the first time in the show's 18-year history, which I didn't realize the show was even around that long.
Uh-huh.
And it's received actually a lot of positive feedback. One person on Twitter wrote, "This is how young children should be taught about inclusion. We don't need to talk to them about sexuality. Just show all types of families."
Exactly.
So in the episode entitled Families, Penny the polar bear introduced her two mothers. The teacher asked the kids to sketch pictures of their families to be put up on the classroom wall. And each student had their turn to introduce the family members they had drawn and describe their job and characteristics. And Penny sketched a portrait of her family and drew two female polar bears wearing dresses. As she draws, she tells her classmates, "I'm Penny Polar Bear. I live with my mummy and my other mummy." Because, they all have British accents.
Oh, do they?
Yes.
I didn't know.
That was actually a thing with Peppa Pig. Like, there was a whole generation of little kids that just started having affected British accents.
Ah.
Like, you see little black girls going, "Mommy, I'd like some water."
How about that? Okay.
So go ahead, Peppa Pig.
That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And that really is how that works. You just,
right.
The world is big and we are a part of it. And, children get that easily. I do not understand the last gasps of of any of it.
So this one goes under good news because Chick-fil-A is catching some hell, and that's always going to make me happy.
Yeah, anytime that happens, I'm good with it.
Right. Black Twitter had a moment with Chick-fil-A because of a response that they gave on their official Twitter regarding certain menu items. So one user tweeted at Chick-fil-A saying, "Grilled spicy deluxe, but still no spicy nuggets." To which Chick-fil-A responded, "Your community will be the first to know if spicy items are added to the permanent menu, Don."
Okay.
To which everyone's like, "Your community? What you mean, your community? What you trying to say, Chick-fil-A?" And it just became this big pile on Chick-fil-A. Now, to be fair, apparently that's language that they use across the board whenever anyone has questions. Mm-hmm. But it still warmed my heart a little bit that Hate Chicken got some pushback for 5 seconds.
It was 5 seconds of pushback, and I just want to point out that probably all of those people eat there and spend their money there. But yeah, good on you. Thanks.
That's the other thing.
Or something.
Yeah, it's still Hate Chicken, spicy or otherwise.
Exactly. Yeah. Never a dime will I spend there.
Spicy hate doesn't sound better.
Nope. It does not. No. And you know, like that whole thing, I'm sorry it's not over. You know what I mean? There was a time when corporate profits were directly used or you know, charitably to support conversion therapy. And then they had said that they had stopped, and then we found out later they had lied. Right. And they were continuing to support it. And now, while I believe that situation was corrected, Dan Cathy, who is the CEO, still spends his money, which you know how he gets it,
right,
in support of conversion therapy. And I'm sorry, as long as you're torturing my community, I'm not eating your chicken.
Right.
As indirectly as that may be, I'm just not. I mean, it's really simple. Your product is not that good. I have no inclination, you know. It's one boycott I have no problem sticking with forever and ever and ever. And I realize it means they don't care, but I do.
Yeah.
Yeah. I will not get in that line. So.
Hell no.
Anyway, cute story. So I had to look at 3 different AP stories.
Okay.
Because I've seen headlines all over the place for this, but I want to clarify that Montana will be allowing trans people to change their birth record.
Good.
So if you are trans and living in Montana, now is the time to do it.
Right.
This is an injunction. I don't think this is, you know, this is a judge has ordered a stop on a law that was already passed. After months of defiance, the health department this judge had made a ruling in April. And the health department basically defied his ruling.
Right.
Said, yeah, too bad. We're going to keep doing this.
Which is like, what?
They have said, as of Monday, that they will follow a judge's ruling and temporarily allow trans people to change the gender on their birth certificates. The judge ordered a scathing order Monday morning, saying health officials made calculated violations of his order, which had told them to stop enforcing a law blocking trans people from changing the gender on their birth certificates unless they had undergone surgery. District Court Judge Michael Moses said Monday he would promptly consider motions for contempt based on continued violations of his April order, which he clarified in a verbal order at a hearing on Thursday. The reason for all the confusion was these jackals at the health department walked out of that hearing saying, "Oh, it's still not clear. We're not going to do that." They did. Yeah, they did. The Republican-run state said it would defy the order and keep in place a rule that disallowed any changes to birth certificates unless they were due to a clerical error. They hate us. You know, they hate us.
Right. To the point of ridiculousness.
It's like, yeah, right. And once the political points, the only way this stops is beat them back at the polls. That's how it stops, when they realize that this is not, because it is a politically expedient game, because they think that this is what people want to hear. And I know people who actually still, at least, are independents at this point, you know, who that is not how they feel, and they don't feel that trans people should be persecuted
Right.
in the states in which they live. The state engaged, according to the judge, in needless legal gymnastics to attempt to rationalize their actions and their calculated violations of the order. He called the state's interpretation of his early order demonstrably ridiculous. And it was.
Yeah. To say the least.
The department, of course, stands by its actions and analysis concerning the preliminary injunction decision as set forth in its rulemaking and addressed critical regulatory gaps left by the court. A spokesman said they're considering their next steps. It's unfortunate that it has taken 2 very clear court orders and many months to comply with the law, said Alex Raitt, an attorney with the ACLU of Montana. The ACLU represents the plaintiffs, 2 trans people who want to change their birth certificates. But from the perspective of transgender Montanans who are seeking to obtain accurate identity documents, today's announcement is certainly progress. Rather than returning to a 2017 rule that allowed trans residents to file an affidavit with the health department to correct the gender on their birth certificate, the state instead issued a rule saying a person's sex could not be changed, even after having surgery. They refused to issue corrections to birth certificates for weeks in violation of a court order.
So much time, effort, and money.
And then the ACLU had to request judicial clarification, which they have now got. Such open defiance of judges' orders is very unusual from a government agency.
That's what I thought.
Said Carl Tobias, a former University of Montana Law School professor, now at the University of Richmond. When officials disagree with a ruling, the typical response is to appeal to a higher court. Appeal is what you contemplate, not that you can nullify a judge's orders. Otherwise, people just wouldn't obey the law.
Right.
Exactly. And that's where these people are headed.
Yeah.
January 6th. It's all connected.
Right.
Pay attention.
Anarchy.
If they don't like it, and it benefits the rights of people they don't like, they'll just ignore it. This is the kind of nonsense we're seeing. So, yeah, now's a really good time to get your birth certificate in order if you are in Montana, because no telling how long this will last. But
exactly.
Get her done.
Get her done.
Yeah. What's next? I put it in good news because you've got this window. Please use it.
Indeed.
The judge did make sure that his order stood. And finally, the state is saying that they can't go around it. But again, this is, I believe, a temporary injunction. So
run, don't walk.
Yeah, basically. Run, don't walk. Do it. Get it done. Consider moving.
Right.
Anyway, it's the last of my good news. And boy, did we have to scratch to find good news this week. Actually, this 2 weeks, because we've been filling we've been looking for articles for 2 weeks now.
Right.
And that's what we got.
Right.
So, do you have a 15-minute fave before we go to break?
I do.
Okay.
And it actually came into my little sphere this morning. I was just listening to some music, and this interesting club song came on called Not About You, and it just felt very appropriate because the lyrics are basically like, when people tell me what to do, I just do what I want and don't listen because what I'm doing is not about you.
Hey.
It just works. So we're going to go out to break to Not About You by Walker and Royce and Nala.
All right.
When they tell me what to do, I don't listen. When they tell me what to do, I just do what I want and give them nothing. Give them nothing. Give them nothing. Give them nothing. When they tell me what to do, I don't listen. When they tell me what to do, I just do what I want and give them nothing. Give them nothing. Give them nothing. It's not about you. sack.
Charles, you are the wind beneath my wings.
Oh, thank you, darling.
Thank you. I am not the technical one here.
I know.
I freely admit that. You know, we come up with these ideas and you make them happen. Like, how did this come about?
Believe it or not, it's all because of Anchor. Anchor has the tools. It lets me record, edit, and distribute right from the computer. Sometimes I do it from my phone. It's just as easy either way.
Wow.
Yeah,
We're on like dozens of platforms, though.
it's true. Anchor makes it easy to distribute our podcast on platforms like Spotify, Apple Podcast, and dozens more. It's everything we need, and it's all in one place. And you'll love this part. It's all completely free.
Oh, thank God.
Right? I use Anchor for pretty much every aspect of getting our show out there and into the listeners' ears.
That's amazing.
It is. And if you, dear listeners, want to get into the podcasting game, you just need to download the Anchor app or go to Anchor.fm to get started.
Maybe Anchor's the wind beneath my wings.
Hey!
And we're back.
We're back.
It is time for the cavalcade of nonsense.
It is.
And there's plenty. Yeah. We're going to start with the state of Virginia. They have released horrific new policies for trans students. And I just want to point out at the top of this. So Virginia had a Democratic governor. Some good, solid trans policies. They now have a Republican governor. Since I've seen this happen so many times in my lifetime in New Jersey, I hope everyone in New Jersey is paying attention to what can happen. And God knows there are New Jerseyans who think this is this is progress, but this is the difference a governor can make. Because I'm not sure, but the Virginia legislature was blue. I don't know if they still are. The governor is not. So, if I didn't read the headline. So, further proving that school sports were just the tip of the spear for conservatives, the state of Virginia has proposed new policies that would significantly roll back the rights of trans students. The state's Department of Education released its 2022 model policies on the privacy, dignity, and respect for all students and parents in Virginia's public schools on Friday night. The 20-page document repeatedly singles out trans students, with the DOE writing that it embarked on a thorough review of Virginia's prior policies for trans students implemented in 2021 under former Democratic Governor Ralph Northam. The introductory purpose section claims that those policies disregarded the rights of parents and ignored other legal and constitutional principles that significantly impact how schools educate students, including transgender students, who they all want dead.
Right.
The 2022 model policies, released in the first year of Republican Governor Glenn Youngkin's administration, are intended to be adopted by local school boards and would defer nearly all of trans students' rights to their parents. That includes requiring parental permission for name and pronoun changes and other aspects of social transition, which can refer to changes as simple as wearing differently gendered clothing, changing one's hairstyle, and or requesting to be referred to with differently gendered terms. The DOA based these tenets on the First Amendment.
Of course.
Claiming that mandating respect for trans students' modes of self-expression is unconstitutional. So their argument here is they have a constitutional right to hate.
Right.
Got it. Practices such as compelling others to use preferred pronouns, is premised on the ideological belief that gender is a matter of personal choice or subjective experience, not sex. The document reads, many Virginians reject this belief. Well, they put a Republican in charge, so I guess we
One could argue, yeah.
take their word for that. Schools will also be required to keep parents informed about their children's well-being, which is another little phrase meaning, without limitation, matters related to the child's health, social and psychological development. Though the wording is vague, it could be used, and we know it will, to develop policies that would effectively force teachers and other school officials to become mandated reporters who must out students to their parents if they disclose their gender and or sexuality at school.
Fascism.
The DOE even went so far as to claim that it was committed to ensuring a positive, safe, and nurturing learning environment for all students. Bullshit.
Right.
Including any student with a persistent and sincere belief that his or her gender differs from his or her sex. To that end, the document specifies that a team of appropriate school staff and other caregivers should work with trans students' parents to implement reasonable accommodations or modifications, echoing the language of the ADA. It also specified that single-user facilities, separate but equal, kids can't use the bathroom that aligns with their gender, obviously, should be provided with appropriate signage indicating accessibility for all students. LGBTQ plus Virginians have spoken out against the proposed rule, with Pride Liberation, a statewide student organization, writing that the model policies attack LGBTQIA plus students across Virginia. Of course they do. That's what they're designed to do. School board meetings are the new front line.
Yep.
They are. Across the country, queer and trans students are being made to fight for the right to be who they are at school. Quote, as a closeted student, I wouldn't be able to come home if my parents found out that I was queer, one anonymous student said in a press release by Pride Liberation. I am terrified that these draft regulations will take away one of the few places I can just be myself.
Right.
Yeah, they want to go back to, what we lived through, which is, you don't get to talk about being queer or trans until you're out of high school. You just don't exist. You just don't exist. You get bullied, you get beaten. They don't give a fuck.
Right.
That's where they want us to be. In the name of freedom for them to not have to deal with our existence.
Right. That's how it sounds to me.
Well, that's how it reads. Another anonymous student echoed, writing that one of the few places where my queer friends and I can feel safe to be ourselves is school. Turning that affirming space into a place of fear and bigotry is abhorrent and only hurts students. And it hurts all of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. We want to create little bigot factories. That's what we like.
That's a term.
Yeah. Comes amid a more concerted effort to hammer down on students nationwide. Of course, we know this. In a similar incident, a Nebraska high school recently shut down its 54-year-old student newspaper after students released a single issue with LGBTQ plus content. There's fun. A Miami school board recently overturned a resolution that recognized October as LGBTQ plus History Month, and which would have allowed older students to learn about landmark LGBTQ plus civil rights cases like Oberfeld v. Hodges and Bostock v. Clayton County. Yeah, we don't want none of that. We don't want none of that learning.
Exactly.
Makes them queer.
And we can't have that now, can we?
Yeah, And here's the other side of this. It's not just about our right to exist. It's about you having to know us. That was the whole point to coming out. That was the whole point of not living in the shadows anymore, is you know us, you love us, you work beside us.
Right.
And some of us are your children. That's just the truth.
Right.
And no matter how many laws they pass, we're not going to cease to exist.
Right.
Now, you may frighten queer and trans kids from coming out as early as they're coming out right now, which is absolutely better for them and their mental health that they have that ability to do that. But some of them are smart enough to know they're not safe at home.
Yeah.
And we were smart enough to know that as well. That's why the policies are designed the way they are.
Right.
That's why the policies being challenged exist, because this is something we know. So we're trying to keep your kids alive. But,
Exactly.
Obviously that's something you don't necessarily care about either. Let's just move on.
So, a church's trans pride flag was burned in the middle of the night. This story actually comes from last Wednesday. An LGBTQ inclusive church outside of Boston recently became the target of anti-trans hate when in the middle of the night, someone burned the trans pride flag the church flew on its front lawn. The United Parish in Brookline, Massachusetts, posted a photo of the charred and shriveled flag on Facebook and declared that, quote, "The hate and violence shown on our lawn has no place in the kind of world that Jesus imagined and God created." The post also emphasized that all are welcome to worship at the church. We at the United Parish in Brookline believe that all people are made in the image of God and embrace and cherish every person in every kind of family. Jesus Christ welcomed everyone. We seek to follow his example in our own life and worship by extending God's love and grace abundantly and equally to everyone. I do appreciate that, churches that more and more churches actually are trying to.
No, more. I don't know if it's more and more.
Well, fair.
But I'll give you more.
Right. Are expanding their policies. But, not everyone got the message that.
Well, at least they're going to buy another flag, make it bigger.
Oh, yeah.
Put it higher. I hope they keep doing that.
Yeah.
I do. I hope they keep doing that. Part of this game of intimidation tactics is to, get, for instance, children's hospitals to drop their gender program. That's what they want. They want, we'll just stop doing it. And I am concerned that some may. And I hope that that's not what happens. I hope that you stand behind the science and stand behind the truth and stand behind your patients and keep going. Same with these churches, same as everything else, we've certainly had these conversations among queer activists and black activists and other activists that, there's a big difference between an ally, especially the self-appointed ones, and a co-conspirator.
Yeah.
Because when you're in this, it's not always pleasant. It's not always easy. And, the fight, sadly, is real. And there's so much unbridled hatred right now that we're looking at.
Yeah.
Which is why we also try to balance that with the good stuff that's happening, the same people that exist in the world and the things that are, So, that's some bad news, but I could just as easily put it in good news because, they're putting up another flag. They're saying this is not okay. Right. And they're saying it across the board. I hope they continue with that narrative. I hope that they do. It bothers me, but schools' hands are tied somewhat to politics, unfortunately, that schools can't just say the same thing. This is not how you affirm all children by persecuting some. That's not helpful.
Right.
At all. Everybody grows, everybody expands, and everybody's a little better when we're making room for all kids. This bullshit isn't making room for anybody. Saying I have a constitutional right to treat you like shit.
Right.
I have a constitutional right to not have to respect you. I never in my life thought I would hear justifications like this out of adults.
Right.
Never. No wonder I'm in such a bad mood lately. What's next? Oh, there we go. An anti-queer adoption agency can continue to discriminate. A judge rules, again, because of free speech.
Yep.
I have a really twisted understanding of free speech, I think. The agency said that forcing them to follow the state's anti-discrimination law violates their free speech right to oppose the law. Where does that end? I have a right to oppose every law I don't agree with?
Right. All this
Suppose
is
I
going
want
to
to drive drunk every day and kill. Is that okay?
Right. We're going to cancel all of our laws out if we keep this nonsense.
Well, that's what I'm just wondering. Suppose, my neighbor gets a brand new flat screen and I want to walk in and take it.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, no. Property laws they'll probably still keep in place. But, human rights laws seem to be, up for grabs. A federal judge has ruled that a Syracuse, New York adoption agency can continue its ban on placing children with LGBTQ couples and unmarried parents. U.S. District Judge May D'Agostino found that New Hope Family Services can turn these couples away because doing so exercises the agency's First Amendment right to free speech. Wow. The decision is a reversal for D'Agostino, who originally ruled against New Hope in 2019, when New York's Office of Children and Family Services tried to shut the adoption agency down for violating the state's non-discrimination laws. The Second Circuit Court of Appeals, however, found that New Hope was exercising free speech and when turning away queer people because forcing New Hope to follow anti-discrimination law would be akin to forcing the agency to make a statement that queer people can be good parents. We don't want to force that, right?
Right.
Except we know empirically that we are. Yeah. Anyway, to state the obvious.
Frequently better than...
frequently better. Yeah. It is no small matter for the state to order the closure of a privately funded religious adoption ministry that has over 50 years of authorized operations, successfully placed approximately 1,000 children in adoptive homes. We are going to get our friend Kisu Burkhauser on at some point to talk about adoption. I have told him the moment he's ready, he's definitely got a platform, and we'll talk for at least an hour, if not two, because he is a transnational, transracial adoptee.
Yeah.
And, he equates, pretty much all forms of adoption to child trafficking and thinks we need to do a whole lot better in this country. And the more I read, the more I agree. Anyway, there was a decision. Yeah. So the Court of Appeals, and based on that, this judge changed course and agreed that New Hope had a right to continue its practices. And there is no evidence that couples have been harmed by the policy because New Hope always refers them to other agencies that can help them. So because there is an alternative place,
right,
this bigoted, backward nonsense, they have a right to continue to do. Of course, they were represented by the Alliance Defending Freedom, which, of course, the SPLC has designated as a hate group because they are. And we'll see if, the Office of Children and Family Services appeals or just accepts this ruling.
I'm confused because I thought, okay, free speech is exactly that. You have the right to say whatever you want.
Right.
But once words become action and that becomes practice, I thought that was a different thing.
Well, I do too. I mean, I don't ever remember seeing these very loose interpretations of what free speech is, until there were so many Republican judges out there. I mean, don't forget, they really have changed the face of the judiciary at all levels.
Right.
Which was part of the game. I think we're going to be seeing more and more rulings that make no sense when compared to the Constitution.
So I'm not crazy. Okay.
No, it's not that you're crazy. It's like I said, I'm befuddled. I am certainly not a lawyer. We could certainly talk to one about some of this stuff. We'll just pile up the notes and have Nellie come back on and we can talk about it, why this would ever be free speech, because then what is the difference?
Right.
When there are anti-discrimination laws, what's the difference between that and refusing to sell me gasoline?
Right. Because that's my question.
Because we don't serve to your kind. And how is that not also free speech?
Right.
Sounds exactly the same to me. We don't deal with your kind.
Right.
We have this, genuinely held belief or whatever the bullshit is that they call it. And therefore, the same thing that's happened in pharmacies where they won't give the morning after pill.
Right.
And where does that end? Where does that end? I mean, that's why a lot of my siblings get their medication black market now. And, I wish they didn't feel like they had to, and I wish that they didn't, but I don't live in the parts of the country where they do.
Right.
And I don't know how many times I would be humiliated in a pharmacy before that's the route I would take. And I want to see a world where that's not what happens.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, it's hard for me as a layperson to see the difference. What is the difference? And at a minimum, I hope that they receive absolutely zero state funding or federal funding at a minimum. If you're a church or based organization and you don't provide what the law provides for because of your beliefs, why should the taxpayers foot that bill? Ever.
I agree.
Ever. And I feel the same way about religious schools. I mean, I know that's what they're pushing hard for, like school choice. So they want to, gut public education. I mean, it's kind of happening in Pennsylvania with charter schools. They're also public institutions, but I mean, if Christians have their way, religious schools will get the same funding, and then they don't have to teach anything. They don't have to teach about black people. They don't have to teach about queer people. They don't have to teach that, women can get a credit card. They don't have to teach any of that.
Right.
They don't. They can teach whatever they want and not teach whatever they don't want. And you've always had that right to send your kids to those schools, but you pay for it.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
You pay for it because it is not in the best interest of an educated, enlightened society.
Thank you.
To have more of those people running around who don't know shit. That is not in anyone's best interest. So if you're hell bent on that, you got to pay for that.
You plucked that thought right out of my head.
Oh my God. But we're the snowflakes.
Exactly.
Anyway. Yeah, and that's the other thing. We have evidence. We have data. We know, we have statistics. We have stories of, folks raised in queer households and they do better. They do better on tests. They do better verbally.
Yeah.
They do better socially.
Yeah.
Why? Because we're good parents. We're, traditionally caretakers throughout history.
Yeah.
But whatever. Anyway, where are we in this cavalcade?
This one was impressive in its nonsensicality.
A man admits to threatening the dictionary for its gender definitions?
Yeah.
Oh, please, to tell.
Last week, a California man pled guilty in a Massachusetts federal court to having threatened to commit anti-LGBTQ plus violence against Merriam-Webster, the publisher of the dictionary. Jeremy David Hansen, 34, of Rossmore, California, pled guilty in a plea deal to charges of interstate communication for threatening Merriam-Webster employees, as well as a charge of the same offense against the president of the University of North Texas, the Department of Justice said in an announcement of the plea. Additionally, there's more. Hansen admitted to sending threats to various corporations, politicians, and others in a written statement of facts included in his plea agreement. Some of his targets included the Governor Gavin Newsom of California, the mayor of New York City, a New York rabbi, Loyola Marymount University professors, Disney. He's just mad.
Mm-hmm.
He's just mad. And his practice of targeting people was based on their gender identity, or sexual orientation. So, yeah, basically, he's mad at, he threatened the dictionary for including gender-inclusive language and terms. We're actually attacking the library over words.
So this, it is the cavalcade of nonsense.
Yeah.
That's some nonsense.
Bomb threats, all kinds of words that I'm not going to say. Only good Marxist is a dead Marxist. I'll assassinate your top editor. He's just... Anyway.
Is this person getting, help?
That's what I was going to... So he is scheduled to be sentenced in January and faces up to 5 years in prison and a maximum of $250,000 in fines. Yeah, he needs help.
Right, but did you say something about mental health services? Because that's what I feel like we really need here.
Yeah, I didn't, but
okay.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, yeah, because that's clearly unhinged. But, that seems to be...
He's like the personification of...
Yeah, thanks, St. Reagan.
Right.
Thanks, St. Reagan. Whew.
Yeah.
So, I put this in here to round out the cavalcade. Just in case there are straight people listening. Because where I see connections, I like to point them out. So, in the same way, we have these ignorant, terroristic fools trying to clog up the Trevor Project suicide line.
Yeah.
We now have January 6th apologists tying up the Veterans Suicide Prevention Hotline.
I'm sorry, what?
You heard me. The mostly white January 6 defendants are experiencing for the first time how slowly the justice system can move. And when you are considered too dangerous to release back into the public. The general angle that most insurrectionist apologists have taken is that the attempted coup at our nation's capital was a no harm, no foul violation of civility. Things got out of hand. The fact is, a lot of laws were broken.
Yeah.
Most of the laws that were broken, running the full gamut of trespassing and vandalism to outright sedition, are federal laws.
Yep.
So right-wing fascists have been crying about how they are being treated by the legal system. In the case of these defendants, there is ample video and social media evidence, of course, placing them at the scenes of the crimes they are being charged with. On Monday, Daily Beast reporter Zachary Patrizzo reported that members of the 1776 Restoration Movement were back in Washington, D.C. that morning, and part of their activities included trying to flood the Veterans Crisis Line with bogus calls in an attempt to urge the D.C. jail to release the January 6th rioters. Yeah.
How do you even get from A to B with that?
The group that purports to want to restore the United States back to 1776 decided the best way to protest the January 6 participants who are still being detained and who are also veterans was to jam up the VA crisis line. The group stipulates that the many political prisoners in the Proud Boys, who happen to also be military veterans, are not receiving medical care in the prison. There is no evidence of that.
So, okay.
But these are people being held for sedition. Should they even have veterans benefits anymore is another interesting question.
Exactly where I was getting ready to go.
Yeah, but my point was, as a tactic, this is one of the ugliest I've seen.
Yeah.
I hated it when it was kids trying to call into the Trevor Project, and I hate it when it's veterans trying to call in. Yeah. Same thing.
Yeah.
Same thing. This is not okay. We put human beings through things in the name of protecting and serving our country that most of us never want to contemplate. And when they come back and they can't deal, this is a lifeline. This is supposed to be there for them to keep them with us.
Right.
Because of what we've asked them to do. It's critically important. And this is the level of insanity of these people.
Yeah.
That they will clog up the VA suicide line. Are you paying attention yet, folks? Are you paying attention to, what this unbridled bullshit looks like? I guess if you think it's all fun and games, if you're on the blow it up train, I guess
right.
You're saying yay. I don't know, but Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, they should be locked up beside the people that they're trying to advocate for if they're going to do stuff like that.
That part.
Isn't that like I can't make sense of it. If you're disturbing the peace and endangering lives, why are you still walking around? Why are you still walking around?
Right. Yeah.
And I feel, the same way about this nonsense as I do about the chick in Brooklyn who, the stochastic terrorist who,
Oh, yeah.
is causing all kind of mayhem and nonsense.
Yeah.
Spreading lies. And as far as we know, these folks are mad about lies too. We don't know that these people aren't getting medical care. We don't know that.
Right.
That's not a fact in evidence. It's the argument. But we do know a lot of them, didn't see themselves having to go to jail for all this.
Right. Well, of course.
And they really thought Trump was going to pay their bail. Because I think he said he was going to, didn't he?
Right.
Probably. He never promised to pay a bill he, didn't pay. So whatever.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Anyway. I brought that up just to say, this is a chilling little trend. We know why they're doing it to us. It makes no more sense to screw around with trans kids than it does to screw around with suicidal veterans. But this is what these people will do because they didn't get their way.
Yeah.
This is the level, and they call us the snowflakes. This is the level of nonsense they will engage in.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are going to take one more break.
Yeah.
And then we are going to try to cleanse our palates of all this silly stuff. Although not really, because we got to talk about The Little Mermaid, but at least it belongs in pop culture.
Right.
Oh, child. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back.
Hey, I'm Courtney,
And I'm Amanda.
and this is A Nefarious Nightmare.
We cover true crime and the paranormal. We raise awareness about the senseless acts committed against victims. We won't go easy on the offenders, but show serious empathy to the victims.
And sometimes we dive into some weird topics outside of true crime, like the paranormal or even conspiracy theories.
Our listeners are definitely the best, and we are their biggest fans.
So join us. Come on in. All are welcome. Let's dive into these cases. You can find us on any podcast platform and on YouTube. Be sure to find us, hit subscribe, and share us with your friends.
We do have great life advice, such as don't be a Richard.
Yes. And wear deodorant. We don't want to smell you.
But all are welcome to A Nefarious Nightmare.
And we're back.
We're back.
So, we might as well get this one out of the way, and then we can talk about the Emmys. But, mermaids aren't real.
Yes, they are. No, they're not.
I hate to, but mermaids, like unicorns, they're not real.
Right.
So, it would follow.
Right.
They can't be the wrong race.
Right.
Because they're not real.
Yes.
Yeah. Why are white people losing their minds? What is happening?
So the teaser trailer for the upcoming live action Little Mermaid, the Disney's Little Mermaid,
Right.
came out last week. And Halle Bailey, who is a phenomenal singer,
Yes.
is going to be playing the role of Ariel. And so the trailer starts off, we're seeing the fish swimming in the ocean, and we hear her voice singing Part of Your World. And at the very end, she comes forward into the light, and we can see her as well as hear her. And there she is, all, black as Halle Bailey is. And collectively, white people lost their shit.
I mean, they could be any color. They could be pink or blue or green.
As she was in the original Hans Christian Andersen
right. I mean,
story.
They're mythical.
Right.
Creatures.
Right. So her being white with red hair was also historically inaccurate.
Because there's no history here.
And by historically inaccurate, I mean going from the source material of the story, which was also a piece of fiction.
Right. Because it talks about a mermaid.
Right.
And they're not real.
Right.
We've never found one.
One could argue that the legend of the mermaid came from sailors seeing manatees.
Right. I've heard that. Yeah.
And
then they thought they saw these half women, half fish.
Right. Which
people. That would be a lot of ale to see a manatee. Although women were more robust back in the day.
Well, that plus
They
a
were
lot of them
allowed
had
to be.
scurvy, so that might have had something to do with.
Oh, that too.
Yeah.
Not to mention the syphilis.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, that can alter your vision.
Yeah.
I wonder if that's the problem now.
That's a hell of an outbreak.
Yeah, it's just racism, isn't it?
It is.
Yeah,
White people are mad. And the thing is,
I don't, but
hardly anyone is actually saying, I do not like the fact that the Little Mermaid is black. They're not saying those words. They're saying things like, she doesn't have red hair, or it's not like the source material, or just all kinds of nonsense like that. We can't just be racist.
well,
But my favorite thing
sure they
is
can. They are, but they're not. Yeah,
I felt so seen and represented when I saw a character with red hair like me, and now
nobody
there's
has red hair like that.
Nobody.
Nobody. I mean, yeah, it was cartoon red.
Right. Unless it came out of a bottle, in which case, hello.
I was a ginger. That's bullshit.
Thank you. They're trying to say that now there's a whole generation of kids that won't have representation. Which, irony.
Oh my God.
Because have you seen all the videos of little black girls who were seeing the trailer for the first time, and they're she's brown like me.
Yeah, all these kids that are so happy and love it and feel, represented, which is great. I've never seen, I am not familiar with a similar problem among the gingers in terms of representation.
Right. I mean, if that's how you feel about it, you still have the fucking Weasleys in Harry Potter. If it's all that goddamn important. Except don't watch that, because then you'll be supporting a transphobe.
Well, that's true. But yeah, that was never a thing.
Both
my kids were gingers. They lived.
Or watch Kim Possible. That's another cartoon
Kim
with the
Possible,
redheaded.
right. Well, somebody ought to release that with a new Kim Possible.
It's
played by.
Right. Yeah. And they're throwing around Disney's using, they have a woke actress. Because again, we don't know what words mean. She's not woke. She's black. And,
they really don't.
They're calling it anti-white. It's like, since the dawn of movies and television, it's been centered around and for white people.
And straight people.
I'm
aware.
I lived a good chunk of my life with 99.2% nothing but white people in the media that I consumed.
Correct.
Because that's what was available. So now for 5 seconds, you have stories where, the main protagonist is not white, and you can't handle it.
The other part of that is let's think for a moment about the storyline. This is about a young woman who has to change the core of her being in order to be with a man. That's the whole story.
Right.
She's willing to almost die for it.
Yep. And when she got her legs because of the spell, every step she took felt like broken glass.
Well, I imagine it would.
For a man. And there was no happy ending in the original story. She died and turned into sea foam.
Exactly.
Without said man.
See?
So.
Well, at least that had a moral. Be happy with, who you are, I guess.
Right.
But then, see, we're going to have to see. Now we're on dangerous ground because, Mermaids is our representative group in the UK, and the idea of mermaids appeals very much to trans folk, but mermaids still aren't real people.
Right.
They're still metaphorical. They're not real.
Yes.
But there is something with that idea that you don't change for another person.
Right.
If you're going to change, do it for yourself.
And
if you're going to, and I mean, I would argue transition is not really a change. It's here I am.
Right.
That's all. But anyway.
And I guess the real problem that everyone's having is, since they're going to be releasing this version of The Little Mermaid with a black Ariel, they're going to be destroying every copy of the original animated Little Mermaid.
Yeah, you can still watch that.
So that you can't go back and, you can
forever and ever
go back and watch the original whenever you want.
Whenever you want.
As many times as you want. No one's taking anything away from you.
Prince Eric is still white, from what I heard.
Is he?
He's still white. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Maybe that's part of the problem too.
Although I saw
it's interracial fishing, which I guess upsets people too.
There was an unofficial campaign online to cast Prince Eric with Elliot Page, and I was like,
I saw that.
I don't hate that, actually.
I didn't hate it either, but apparently it was already cast.
Yeah.
And I don't know that Elliot Page sings, because doesn't Eric sing? I think.
Oh yeah, he kind of. Well, I mean,
I don't know that Elliot Page doesn't sing.
I don't either.
But I guess in the mind of, well, if we're already blowing their minds, why not that?
Exactly.
Yeah, why not? Why not?
But I personally am excited to see the new Little Mermaid, because when I heard that Halle Bailey was cast as Ariel, knowing her voice, immediately I was like, that's perfect. That's perfect.
Sure, she has a lovely voice.
Like, she has a siren song of a voice.
And I think the woman who voiced Ariel came out in support.
Yeah, she did.
I believe, yeah.
Yeah, she was like, you're going to do a fabulous job.
Because she's, 60 now or something.
Right.
Yeah. She aged. The cartoon didn't. You know what I mean? Yeah. But she did. Yeah, she was encouraging, and I'm sure she will do a fabulous job. It's just
folks are being ridiculous. And the thing is, kids are excited.
They are.
The intended audience for this movie are excited.
I know. But see, there's the thing. There's the thing.
It's the adults who are
mad. Yeah, but the adults don't. Yeah. And I don't know. I don't know. I could go on and on, but
the YouTube trailer in 2 days had 1.5 million dislikes. Yeah.
How many?
1.5 million.
Million people.
Yeah.
Took the time out of their precious life to go on YouTube.
Yeah.
To say,
to hit the dislike button.
I don't like it.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't like it.
And one fool out there took the time to use AI to re-edit the trailer and make her white again.
I saw
and said,
that.
I fixed it.
I saw that happened. I mean, I didn't watch it or anything, but I saw that.
Like, really?
That's fixed. Well, I mean, that tells you where we are.
Right.
It tells you where we are. I mean, obviously.
So now I want
1.5 million.
I want to go back and do remakes of every movie with white people in it and put non-white people in the roles. And Gone with the Wind, the union wins.
I was good when they did it with Steel Magnolia. Right. When they did it with Steel. Well, the union always wins.
Well, not in the movie though. Or,
yes, it does.
Oh, I haven't seen that shit. I
Still,
saw it once.
I mean, it
and
doesn't
didn't
change that.
Oh, okay.
It just kind of glorifies, the slaves are members of the family and all that. It does that.
Remember we saw that stage production of Uncle Tom's Cabin where
the roles were reversed
and the slaves were white. And
yes.
Do that.
That was kind of fun, actually. That was well done.
It was. Do that with Gone with the Wind.
Why not? Yeah, that was interesting theater. That was fun.
I don't know anything about birthing any babies.
I know, right?
It's just ridiculous. People need to calm down.
Yeah.
It's like you can't handle something not being
just
completely centered around you for 5 seconds.
I don't remember them doing this when they recast Steel Magnolias. I guess that wasn't...
Oh, they did.
Did they?
They did.
Okay. I guess I wasn't paying attention then because I was like, oh, cool.
And that's when...
I like them both.
That's when people had to remind them that, we're not recasting the movie. We're doing another movie based on the play, which came before the original movie. It is a movie based on a play. So you can recast it however you want.
Right. Right.
But folks lose their mind.
I just don't remember as much kerfuffle.
I wasn't as big as this, but it was.
Well, and I guess social media wasn't quite as populated as it is now or something. But good Lord.
Yeah.
Anyway, mermaids aren't real.
Mermaids aren't real.
Yeah. What's next? Let's the Emmys.
Yeah, the
happened.
Emmys.
They happened.
Yeah, they did happen. We were busy, so we missed them.
Yay, Gene Smart, though.
Yeah, a lot of
I love hacks.
Wonderful awards were given out. Yeah, Jean Smart won for Outstanding Lead Actress in a Comedy Series for Hacks.
Yes, she did.
I'm not even upset that she beat Quinta Brunson because Jean did that.
Jean Smart is funny.
Jean Smart is
I believe that she is a comedian.
I think her only real competition in that category would have been Quinta Brunson.
Maybe. She's a brilliant writer. She's, she really has created, an entertaining series.
Yeah.
Is she the best part of it? I don't know. As an actress?
Well, Cheryl Lee Ralph got her Emmy.
Thank you. I agree, and I agree with it.
Oh, yeah.
So Jason Sudeikis won for Ted Lasso. We still haven't seen one episode of that nonsense.
No,
it just feels dumb.
Yeah.
I feel like my IQ would go down.
Well, again, everyone says the same thing. You don't like it at first, and then eventually it gets really good.
I want to like it at first.
Thank you. I'm sick of having to wade through the first 2 or 3 episodes of a series before I get to like it.
Yeah, every analogy that's coming to my mind won't be replayed on Medway Pride, so I'm just not gonna. But I'm just like, you'll like it eventually. Doesn't work for me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like, just lay there and relax. Eventually.
Right.
It'll get good.
I don't want Stockholm Syndrome.
No. If I, no.
It beat Steve Martin and Martin Short and Only Murders in the Building.
And it won Outstanding Comedy Series.
Yeah.
Maybe if we start on season 2. I don't know.
I'm not in a big hurry.
I'm not either. It just looks really white and dumb. But maybe not. But it that's what I see.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
Michael Keaton won Outstanding Lead Actor in a Limited or Anthology Series or Movie for Dope Sick, which I will probably never see. But good for him.
I'm looking. I'm not familiar. We didn't see any of these.
Nope.
We didn't see any of the nominees. Limited or anthologies. Amanda Seyfried for The Dropout.
Yeah, the only thing I think we saw in this category was Inventing Anna.
I like her, but I don't see The Dropout. We did see Inventing Anna.
And I'm still not sure whether or not I liked it. We watched the whole thing and we were engaged the entire time, but I'm not sure I liked it.
I did not like it.
But then again, that's a testament to her acting because we hated that
Yeah, oh, well,
character.
she was hateable. Yeah, that the whole story was just. Ugh. But I mean, we watched the whole thing. The White Lotus one
for outstanding limited or anthology.
Outstanding limited.
Don't,
and I don't get it.
I don't either.
I still don't get it. I really don't. I did not enjoy it.
No, it wasn't enjoyable.
Enough said.
Yeah.
Outstanding lead actress in a drama series, Zendaya for Euphoria.
Yeah. Sounds right.
Okay.
Because whether or not you like that show, you have to admit she's acting her ass off.
I guess. I don't know her personal life like that. Maybe she's not acting. I don't know.
We've seen her in enough things to know what a good actor
Have we?
she is. Yeah.
What else have I seen her in?
Greatest Showman.
Zendaya was in Greatest Showman?
Yeah.
I don't remember that.
She was the black girl.
I don't-
She was the trapeze artist.
Oh, okay. That was her.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting.
She's been in a lot of things, and she's a good actor.
I don't disagree.
Yeah. I'm not upset. Like, I'm not a huge fan of Euphoria, but I do recognize the work she was putting in.
Right. Reese Witherspoon was up for the morning show, but did not get it. Which, I mean, of the two, this makes sense.
And I mean, I will say,
although I like the morning show.
Yeah, I love the morning show, and that's the best acting I've seen Reese Witherspoon do. And I'm not a huge Reese Witherspoon fan, which is how you know.
I'm not a fan.
Right. Well, you like her more. Lee Jung-jae won for outstanding lead actor.
Squid Game,
Squid
which is
Game.
something I'm never going to watch.
Right. But
again, Brian Cox was up for Succession.
Right. But apparently they put in all the work at Squid Game. So,
and Jeremy Strong was also out for Succession.
Yeah.
I'm fine. Outstanding drama series, Succession won.
Yep.
Against Better Call Saul. Good. As much as we liked the Breaking Bad, I couldn't get into, like, the Saul was my least favorite character.
You know
why it's a spinoff? It's like,
I liked his character, but not enough for me to follow him as the main character in a whole nother series.
Yeah, no. And I tried a couple of episodes and I was like,
yeah, I didn't even.
I just didn't like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, just me.
I was not interested.
But yeah, I mean, Succession is really well done. And Lord knows they've spent a lot of money on it.
Word.
Brett Goldstein won for Ted Lasso for supporting actor in a comedy series.
Yeah.
So James Williams, Henry Winkler, and Barry, which I've never seen.
I want to see Barry. We've never watched it.
Supporting actress in a comedy series. It's not Barack Obama, you know.
I am fully aware. It's Bill Hader.
White dude named Barry.
Yes.
Yep. Supporting actress in a comedy series, Cheryl Lee Ralph.
Yes.
First black woman to win in the category? Second.
Jack Hay was the first.
Jack Hay was the first. Yes.
And Jack Hay made a point of congratulating her.
Yes, I saw that.
Yeah.
Which is great. She is terrific.
Yeah.
I love her character. I believe she's a school teacher. Like, I just love her character.
And I found out one of the reasons why she sang her acceptance speech is because one of the things that haunted her throughout her career is people trying to say she couldn't sing.
She was in Dreamgirls.
Right, but she was between Loretta Devine and Jennifer Holliday.
True.
So they tried to say that, you know.
Of course she can sing.
Of course, yeah.
Well, now we know.
Exactly.
Good for her.
I've been new.
Good for her. Good for her. Jennifer Coolidge got supporting actress in a limited series for White Lotus.
I mean, she played a character that I didn't like, which is...
I know, and I like her very much, and I couldn't stand her character, so...
Which is a testament to her acting, I suppose.
I guess.
Every time she went, I wanted to, like, reach the television.
Skipping over, Nathan Lane got guest actor for Only Murders in the Building. Quinta Brunson won for outstanding writing.
Yes.
For a comedy series, and I agree with that.
And she was, I believe, the first black woman to be nominated for writing and acting in a series.
Nice. Outstanding writing for a limited or anthology series. Again, The White Lotus. Really?
I'm never going to understand it.
I'm not either.
Outstanding writing for a variety special, Gerard Carmichael, Nathaniel.
I love that. And we haven't said that in a minute. find somebody's HBO password and watch Nathaniel. It is brilliant, start to finish.
Yeah.
Gerard Carmichael's best work to date. It is so well done. Just brilliantly done. I'm so glad he won. Because that was good work.
It was. It truly was.
Outstanding competition program. Lizzo, watch out for the big girls, beat Drag Race.
Yeah. For the first time since 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Ain't that crazy?
I like the Lizzo show.
Yeah.
I think we've only seen a few, but I like it.
Mm-hmm. I'm wondering if there's going to be another season of it, though, because that means she's going to have a whole new crew of dancers.
I don't know that. Yeah. I don't know that there would be another, but I have enjoyed this.
Yeah.
What we've seen of it.
Everything about it I enjoy.
It's not cutthroaty and bullshitty, and it's not all the things that I hate about competition TV.
Right. Everyone's nurturing of one another.
Right.
You know.
Right.
And I love how, like, you know, the trans girl who's in the mix, everyone's just chill with her, and they have her, they sweep her up in the same air of sisterhood as everyone else. I think it's beautiful.
Right.
Drag Race, RuPaul did win for best host of reality competition program, but we knew that from the creative Emmys.
Variety sketch show, Saturday Night Live. Its competition was a Black Lady sketch show. We tried to watch that.
Yes, we did. Variety's the best live variety special, the Super Bowl halftime show, starring all your 90s faves.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. But I love how that beat the Grammys, the Oscars, and the Tonys.
Right.
It's like, well, damn.
I'm starting to yawn.
I noticed.
I'm starting to yawn. So there was some good stuff.
A whole bunch of people won some Emmys. Good for them.
Yeah, kinda.
Yeah, a lot of the rest of these are repeated from the creative Emmys that we talked about before.
Right.
But congratulations to all of the winners.
Sure.
And, you know, there's a lot of good stuff.
Now, there have been nights when we've watched the Emmys. I don't know. We were busy. We're busy right now.
Yeah. Our schedules are completely different
Yeah,
than they were
we were
literally
not here. We were, I think, at Brian Sanders' Junk. I think that's the night, was Emmys night, yeah.
Yes.
We were physically
We were sitting in
not
the
at
splash
home.
zone.
Yes. There was water introduced into the performance, and yeah.
At least it was warm.
It was, and I'm not sure if that made it better or worse.
I know. Because at least,
but it wasn't cold water. It was warm water, which yeah.
But that the club where the show took place was freezing.
The club was freezing. Yes, but the water that was mimicking amniotic fluid was indeed warm.
Yes.
Which was, thank you, but it was a little disconcerting.
But
you know, whichever.
But I remember looking in the air and seeing her up there, and and I just knew it was coming.
Yeah.
I said, "Baby, either finish your beer or cover it
Exactly.
quickly."
Yes. Yeah, we knew.
And I was right.
We knew. Well, they had kind of formed a little baby pool under the set, so you knew
something was
that was
coming.
to collect something. In quantity.
I was nervous when they put the people underneath the glass table because
that was kind of interesting.
Yeah.
So they could watch from under the table. Oh, it was fun. For them, I guess. Yeah. They did it. I'd have been like, hell no.
Yeah, you weren't laying on the floor in that outfit.
I was not about to lay on the floor. I was not. No.
Yeah.
Like, you just made a baby pool out of pool noodles and plastic. I am not laying there.
No.
Under a glass table, because something's going to happen.
Yes.
And I was already sitting too close. But I wasn't on my back for it.
Right.
But yeah, so interesting. Live performance.
Yeah.
Nothing like it.
The posters for that show have been at the Performance Garage, and people comment on the posters because it's, a picture of one of the performers' asses with a camera pointed at it.
There was a lot of there was a lot of that.
And that's what I said. I was like, this poster does not do justice to exactly how much ass was in this show.
It's true. But not in a bad way.
No, never in a bad way.
Not in a bad way.
But in a lot way.
Well, they're dancers.
It was fun.
They're dancers.
We had fun at that show.
Dancers, you know.
Yes, there was a lotness.
Yeah. No, it was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun. It was an interesting work.
Yeah.
It was good to see.
It was a lot of fun. I'm glad we saw it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're all caught up with the British baking show, so we're watching the holiday one now.
Yeah, right.
I tried to watch the children's one.
Well, you tried to try.
Well, there are children in it.
That messed it all up.
Yeah. When the kid couldn't get the stuff in the freezer and it all came tumbling down, I'm like, I'm not watching this. I'm not. It's stress I don't need. That's the whole point to watching this, is to not be stressed. So it was like, no, it felt a little too chaotic for whatever time of night it was. I was like, no, let's watch the holiday one. Better. It's better. Calmer.
It is calmer.
So that's that. We have to not skip a week.
Right.
Again, that was totally 14 days flew.
Right.
Flew. And it was like, oh, ooh.
We were like mad busy.
We have not. It's been a while. Yeah. So hopefully we're all caught up.
Yes.
And this falls somewhere under an hour and 58 minutes so that we can shoot it over to our friends at Medway Pride.
Yes.
Maybe once they edit you down, it'll fit.
Oh, me specifically. Oh, okay.
Well, I've been trying. I've been trying not to curse just because I feel bad because they have to do work. I'm like, I can express myself without saying fuck. I can sometimes. So I'm trying. I'm trying it on for size.
I mean, I can too. Part of the reason why I wanted to have a podcast was so I could say fuck into a microphone.
Well, I understand that, but really, you're 47 years old now, and maybe it's not the most important word we use.
Fine.
I'm just saying. Because, Shay has to, so somebody has to do it. So.
Fine.
I try to be mindful.
Fine.
It doesn't, it does nothing to help my vocabulary in person, but it does on here.
A French philosopher once said, cursing makes talking more fun.
I mean, it sort of does.
But fine.
Something to ponder. Anyway, I am Martha Madrigal.
And I am Charles Tyson Jr.
And you have been listening to Full Circle, the podcast. Thank you, and we will be back next week.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Full Circle is a Never Scared Productions podcast, hosted by Charles Tyson Jr. and Martha Madrigal, produced and edited by Never Scared, executive produced by Charles Tyson Jr. and Martha Madrigal. Our theme and music is by the Jingleberries. All names, pictures, audio, and video clips are registered trademarks and/or copyrights of their respective copyright holders.